state?
Like right now or generally?
I mean, are Black women in a state?
Well, I'm trying to be in a state of relaxation, and you're killing my vibe.
Thank you both of you for having the time with me. I'm Sol Márquez Thomas from Chile, and I'm doing this interview for RadioDemente, like insane radio, because we really love TV shows. First of all, I want to say to you, I really love the show. I already watched the first 4 episodes, and I really love your characters. So I'm really happy to be speaking with both of you. My English is not that good, so please have patience with me. And thank you.
You're fine.
And I'm going to, I prepared a question for you, both of you can answer. So, because I think your characters are related really good in some points that I will tell you now. I just want to start with saying that the show is going to be compared with Sex and the City. And I like the idea that the shows, because there are 4 women in New York City, but it's in Harlem in this show. And I like the idea that the reference to Mr. Big and everything that the show does. So for you, what are the similarities? The more I want to know what you consider are the difference between both of the shows.
I think that, well, we love the comparisons to Sex and the City and other shows that came before. We have so much respect and reverence for, all of the people involved in creating those, because I think the fact that those existed is the reason why we're able to exist now. And, what one of the things that I see as a difference between us and Sex and the City is that, Sex and the City was so groundbreaking in terms of showcasing, single women who are creating lives for themselves and just kind of navigating through the backdrop of New York City. And so much of the show is centered around wanting a man and feeling like incomplete without having a man in your life, or like there's a void if you don't have a man in your life. And I feel like our show is different in that the men are as beautiful and sexy and loving and wonderful as the men are on the show. They are complements to our lives. They're not the main course. The show is really just about the women and what the choices they're making when it comes to life, friendships, career, love. And, if there's a man there, it's a bonus, but it's not necessarily a must.
Yes. I think that's one of the biggest differences about Run the World and Sex and the City. Selfishness being a big, role in it. Women choosing to love their careers, love what they do, find love in every other aspect, and their love life is there. And it complements everything else that we have. And we have the love of friendship and sisterhood that is kind of above all of that. Because if you don't have anyone to lean on when that is lacking, then what do you have? So it's a way that I already see my friendships, and my love life is what it is, but I depend on my friends and sisterhood. And that is what is beautifully highlighted in this show. And successful Black women living their lives successfully is so important for us to see, especially in our own culture, living in Harlem. It's so important, and I think Sex and the City was monumental with women living in Manhattan, and that was a 5th character to it. But Harlem is a totally different vibe, a whole nother swag, and we bring that swag with it as well, and we love it, and it helps us tell our stories as well.
You hit the birth jackpot when you were born a Black woman.
Hallelujah.
Anyone who has ever stood on the precipice of world domination has felt fear. Fear is good. Fear is fuel.
So I'm going to skip one question. I'm going to ask you, the show have this strong imprint of Black culture. How do you manage to be on a show like this right now? I'm thinking about the Black Lives Matter and all the news of this week are like huge, and we can be like a little happy about accountability, but at the same day we have this horrible news. So how do you want to talk about Black culture in this show?
I I'll say for me, what I loved mostly about this show is that it was a true depiction of women that like me. You know, Black Lives Matter and things that happen on the news, that has been a part of our history and a part of what we as a Black culture go through on a daily basis, and racism and all of the things that come with it. But how we walk with grace and how we walk in confidence and the way we eloquently just go through life and fashionably going through life and laughing at life and sharing those moments that aren't just so downtrodden. If we lived in that place all the time, we would not be able to be, you know, these beautifully, you know, just reflected people that you see on the street and that you see in life and culture. So I'm excited to show a different slice of life and a slice of Black women where we get to show all of the complexities and all, like, that we're soft and that we do get angry, but we're not angry Black women. You know, we can be fashionable and we can be, you know, salacious, and we could do all of these things. And that is still going on, but it's not in the forefront of our lives. And we don't move in that way, which is, I think, so important for the world to see how Black women, you know, when you see Kamala Harris and you see Michelle Obama, they have friendships like this. You know, they're not living their lives in the downtroddenness of what is going on around them. They have different colors and different flavors that make them who they are. And that's the way that they navigate through life. Black women living. And that is what we're celebrating.
Yeah, I agree, because I feel like, you know, and I appreciate that these topics get brought up in these conversations, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't define myself through the lens of white supremacy or racism or any of those things. Like, yeah, they exist, but they don't define me, especially just because I'm Black. I'm a human being who has a very multifaceted, interesting life. And that's how all Black people are. And I love that this show doesn't really even talk about those things, because yeah, we know that those things are going on. But as you can see, I mean, all of these women, you know, and even just me personally, like, we all have these experiences with discrimination or racism or whatever, but your life is unfolds based on your choices in a lot of ways. And I think that that's what this show kind of represents, is like, who are these women and what are the choices that they're making? And, you know, what are we able to showcase that's outside of this lens that often gets put on us? And we're often pressured to constantly talk about and give commentary to. It's like, I don't want to talk about any of those things, because that's not really what is going on in my life. Like, it's something that I can tap into when I want to, but that's not the driving force, in my opinion, of what it means to be a Black woman. And being a Black woman is not, to me, oppression. Being a Black woman is being someone who is, you know, effervescent and multifaceted and talented and driven and smart and beautiful and loving, and, you know, all of the other adjectives that you can attribute to yourself or anyone, really. And so, you know, I'm very grateful that this show is light and fun, and it talks about, you know, some controversial issues in a very humorous way, because more than anything, what we need, especially after this last year, is laughter. We need to laugh.
You need to laugh.
Laugh at ourselves and laugh at each other. And if you can't do that, what's the point of living?
Yeah.
I am just trying to blow off some steam. So if you could just let me.
I like the fact that both of your characters are in a moment of crisis, and you have to renew, you have to start again. How do you feel about the way you are showing women after the 30s, no? Because I think all the shows now are centering so much in people in their 20s, and okay, I love you guys, but I'm feeling more represented in shows like yours.
Yeah, go ahead, Andrea. No, go.
I mean, because I'm in my, you know, I just turned 34, and I think that the 30s, like, so far, I mean, I have a lot more life to live, God is willing, but, you know, I think that the 30s are one of the most incredible times in a woman's life, because it's the 30s where you really get a chance to start letting go of all of the programming that was, instilled in you, and you start to see the world through your own eyes, through your own lens, and you start to really understand how to make choices that truly benefit you. And I think that's what a lot of women start to learn in their 30s. And I think that's what this show represents, is like, yeah, there's down swings or setbacks, which Renee and Ella are going through, but we're at a place where we're grounded and mature in who we are, that we can navigate those with a sense of autonomy and self-empowerment. And I think that's something that people are still kind of feeling their way through in their 20s, and it gets more solidified into the 30s.
I couldn't say it any better than that. I mean, this show is just, it's teaching me, just playing Renee, it's teaching me the power of standing up for myself, knowing what I deserve, and the power of no, which is a daily struggle. And I feel like this show, and I feel like women in their 30s become a lot more aware of the power of no, and becoming aware of what they actually want. They tap into their progression of where they're going and how they're going to get there, and aggressively getting there, like aggressively claiming what's there and running the world, which is why I lovely for naming it this show, Run the World, is because we're tapping into what is going to make us run the world, which is friendships, which is our career.
Nobody ever talks about what it feels like when you're falling.
What makes you think the next time you jump, you're gonna fall instead of fly?
I am a woman phenomenally. I heard Donald Glover's gonna be there, and I feel like he missed out on dating me when he lived in New York.
He's like married with 3 kids.
Girl, like married is not married.